welcome back to the Neca Godzilla Retrospect Reviews. Today we are on episode 2, which will feature the Heisei era of Neca's Godzilla figures. We've got the 84, 89, 94, and a 95. Let's stop the chat and let's go. The first Godzilla we will explore in the Heisei era is the 1984 Neca Godzilla. This suit is a personal favorite of mine in the movies, but the figure? It has some of the worst execution that NECA had ever done. Yes, it was early on. I will say it could have been worse. Yeah, if you know, you know. Yes, sir. This is almost what we got. NECA heard our disapproval and the complaints and re-sculpted the head. I find it funny that this is also still the main image on Amazon. So let's talk about what we got. A better looking head sculpt was a start. However, there are still several flaws with this guy. The sculpt is kind of meh. And this figure has some of the most flimsy, thin dorsal fins of all the Godzillas. Simple sculpted hands with no articulation. From certain angles, he looks okay, but this figure hasn't aged well. By 2019, he was re-released. Unlike the other reissues that just received repaints and new boxes, our 84 received a fantastic sculpt of the spines. The differences were just amazing, great improvement. It may not be perfect entirely as a figure, but this was a plus, and definitely attention to detail. One thing that really helps this figure is the variety in paint apps and colors on the sculpt. It looks a little bit better. Now, I'm not going to admit that the old sculpt was amazing because it really wasn't even good in the first place. But sometimes the right paint apps just help things pop a little bit more because the last color was just a straight bland black, and it just was all kind of lost. Unlike the 1954 re-release, this figure received no atomic breath, unfortunately, but we did get a new fancy box, so hey. Okay, I'm going to start by saying the next figure is my favorite NECA Godzilla of them all. What's sad is this was near the end of the line, unfortunately, when NECA was wrapping up their Godzilla line. So, like most NECA Godzillas, it isn't entirely movie accurate. Yes, NECA always kind of struggled in certain spots with their figures, but this one right here, the texture and the detail to the spines and the skin is just amazing, and I can't help but appreciate it. The Heisei era of Godzillas were some of my favorites, and when somebody says Godzilla, this is where my mind goes. This to me is just the definitive Godzilla. That's just me personally though. To an extent, it captures Goji 89's face. No, this isn't on SH's level. I'm not going to turn this into a figure face-off, but this moment in time, I was proud of NECA and their attention to the Godzillas. This figure showed progress. Like I mentioned in episode 1, this is when NECA was redoing their tails. You can get this tail bent in several different positions and it stays and it looks amazing. With the exception of where the tail plugs in, the cuts are decently concealed. Just at one point, maybe it's a minor eyesore, but I can overlook this flaw. It also came with its very own beautiful atomic blast effect, strictly for this mold. It's a little bigger than some of the NECA Godzillas which were released, but that's a very nice plus. The final note is I would have loved to have a 12-inch variant of this figure, and if you're looking for one NECA Godzilla to own, this is the one that I'm gonna point you to. To wrap up the Heisei era, we're gonna double up a bit. So we have the Godzilla 94 and the 95. Okay, yes, two different suits, two different movies, but let's be fair, NECA just needed to reuse the mold, and that's exactly what these two are. The same mold, just with their respective differences. Quick note, both of these are the original clamshell releases. I never bothered with the re-releases. There wasn't much of a difference for me to buy them again. No resculpts, just pretty well just repaints. New box arts, but it just wasn't up to justify spending about $25 to $30. So just so we are clear, these are the original releases and we're going to be going strictly off them. So these figures, Godzilla 94 uses the normal plastic and is a pretty simple Godzilla figure. This is also NECA's first Godzilla outside of the legendary Godzillas, so this was the start for the Toho Godzillas, and for a start it really wasn't terrible. Decent articulation, even in the hands, which is not something we would see for every Godzilla. The spines are semi-impressive. In some spots, yes, they look a little tacky and make me think of marshmallow puffs, but the execution was there. The mouth, the teeth, all look fine. The tail was the early bendy wire that NECA was using, so it's passable tooling for its time being in about 2014 when this released. But when it came to the re-release, I really wish they had resculpted a few parts just to make it look better and up to date with some of the figures that were coming out in 2019. They could have redone the spines, maybe the tail. It wouldn't have been nothing major, but I would have appreciated it. For the other figure, Godzilla 95 uses a translucent plastic, which is a great touch. Rather than just painting it a burning orange color, this really shows when the lighting is correct. I wish both these figures had atomic breath pieces, but unfortunately, that just never happened. Before I wrap up this review, there are some fun ways that you can really make your own atomic breath for your Godzilla figures in the most unique ways. There are several talented, creative YouTubers in the Godzilla community that I advise you take a look at. You can make your own buildings, you can make your own oceans, you can make your own atomic breath, whichever you want to. Fun, creative ways that you can just do at home. This concludes episode 2 of the Neca Godzilla retrospective. Stay tuned as we cover the Millennium and the Shin Godzilla era next. Thank you for watching.